Hello and welcome to your creativity workouts for art and for life. Today's video is about value. So what on earth does value have to do with creativity? We'll get to that in a second. First of all, what we're going to be doing today is playing the value game. So value is basically the lightness or darkness of a color. And the easiest way to see value is to look like at a black and white photograph or a black and white video, and all of the different shades of gray are basically the values. Value is the difference between the lightness and the darkness of a color. But when you're looking at something that's actually in color, it's a little bit harder to discern the value. So that's why we're going to play the value game, so that we can practice getting better at discerning values and also just have some fun at seeing how not quite so easy it is to tell apart the different values in colors. And so why is value important? Well, it helps us differentiate the different bits and pieces inside our works of art. And why do we want to do that? Well, you can if you want to, you don't have to. I mean, there is such a thing as a black painting and a white painting. There are many of those around, single value, single color, single everything. That's considered art. But if you do want to be able to differentiate between the different bits and pieces in your painting, it helps to tell apart the different values. One way that you can do this fairly easily these days is once you have a piece of art, you just take a picture of it with your phone, turn it into black and white, and see if there's a big difference, or at least enough of a difference to make it interesting in black and white. If that's the case, you're good. If you want to be able to differentiate between different colors and you take a picture and everything all looks pretty much the same, then maybe you want to make a little tweak here or there. In any case, today what we're going to be doing is playing the value game. We play two versions of the game, an easy version and a little bit more difficult version. And then towards the end of the video, I will be mixing up some shades of gray and showing you a magic trick to do with value. So stick around to the end of the video for that. So what does all this have to do with creativity? Well, value is an artistic skill, just like drawing and composition and all sorts of other artistic skills. And once you have all of these skills ingrained in your mind, just like with any other pursuit, they sort of become part of your unconscious. And when you do let your creativity out, they automatically come flooding back without any conscious thought. So what we're trying to do is get all of those little skills and things so well honed that we don't have to think about them consciously, and then we can let our creativity take over, and boom, we come up with something that's really cool and unexpected. So please enjoy the video, and if you do, like and subscribe. Thanks very much. Okay, here we go. I'm putting the penny on the darker value. Am I correct? Looks like I was this time. Let's see if I can continue my streak. Yeah, I think that one's darker. What about this one? Oops, I got that wrong. What about you? Okay, I'm doing pretty well here. That one's definitely darker. Now this gets a little more difficult because I'm trying to figure out which one of the 10 values applies to each of these colors. And I'm not really all that good here. How are you doing? And I have a question mark next to some of these reveals because I'm not even 100% sure once I've revealed if I've selected the correct value. This is a tough game. And reds, for some reason, are more difficult than the other colors. I'm way off there. How are you doing with the reds? Yep, off that one there too. Not quite. Finally, I got one, I think. What do you think? Yeah, that one looks pretty good too. Lighter colors for some reason are easier. Well, I think they're lighter. Let's see if they really are. Nope, didn't get that one either. Not quite. That one's lighter than I thought it was. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is mix up a bunch of grays. I'm using Mars Black and Titanium White, and I am trying to create 5 shades of gray in between black and white that are equidistant from each other value-wise. And I am going to mix them all up on my favorite palette paper, which is basically freezer paper. One thing I love about freezer paper, in addition to the fact that it's relatively inexpensive for palette paper, is that I can make it any size. I can make a small sheet if I want to do some small project, or I can scroll it out on a table and make a very large sheet of palette paper if I've got a lot of colors or a lot of paint that I want to mix. Okay, let's get going, mixing these blacks and whites into colors that are equidistant apart. This takes a while, so if you want to, you can sort of speed through this part of the video, but please do stay towards the end because I will reveal the magic trick, and it's really kind of cool. I just want to make sure that I illustrate to you that this is a process of trying a little of this and a little of that, checking and adding a little bit more, and it's kind of measuring visually and measuring it against the card. But as you can see, the grays on the value card are different than the gray paint. My gray paint is a little bit bluer, so it's sort of like holding the value card up against a color. It takes a bit of practice, which is the point of this whole exercise. Practice in seeing value. And that values really make a huge difference in separating the different elements in your painting and holding them up next to each other. And so if you think you spend a lot of time mixing colors and that it causes some impatience, no worries. It's part of the process. And that's also one of the reasons that I got these little jars here, so that once I've got these colors mixed up, these grays that are equidistant from each other, that I want to use in other projects, I'm going to store them in the jars so I don't have to remix them. It's not an exact science. And it's kind of funny because I'm having to use this card that has 10 colors on it to mix up 5 colors. It's a little bit difficult. And I'm not mixing up the extreme white or the extreme black that also shows on the card. So it's like mixing 8 into 5. It's kind of not too easy. And I'm adding a little bit of water to each of these jars because I've been mixing them out in the open air and they may have lost a little bit of moisture. I'm not sure. Okay, now I'm going to test these colors out. I'll swatch them really quickly here to see if I have 5 equidistant values. I'm not entirely satisfied. I think that the lightest color needs to be a little lighter and the darkest color needs to be a little darker. So we'll try that and see if it works. It's better on the light end. Let's see what we can do for the dark end. And just add a little dab of black at a time. I don't want to overdo it. But I'm really surprised by how much black I actually need to add to this to get it just a little bit darker. Yeah, I think that's much better. I added a lot of black to that to make it just a little bit darker. And now I'm going to create some swatch cards, just like the ones that I was using towards the beginning of the video. One for each of these shades or values of gray. And I'm using my house painting brush here because it spreads a lot of paint quickly and I like the texture. Okay, here we are. 5 values of gray equidistant from each other. I think it pulled it off. What do you think? That was fun and quite a bit of a challenge. And now for the magic trick. What I'm going to attempt to do here is place two values side by side, and then I'm going to place a third value on top of them, and that third value should appear to be a different value on the left than it is on the right. These appear to be the same. Those two little gray squares, they look pretty much the same on the left and the right. So we haven't accomplished our goal yet. Let's try again. Will this light value against these two darker values appear different on each side? No, the two squares appear to be the same value when placed against these different values. So let's try and place a super light value against the two darker values and see if the super light value appears to be a different value on each side. Nope, not yet. So now what I'm going to do is place on the left side a super light value and on the right side a super dark value, and try and place a more middle value in between and see if I can get it to appear as though it is a different value on each side. Nope, not yet. The two values on the left and the right appear to be pretty much the same value. That didn't work. Let's try again. I think we're getting somewhere. The little square on the left appears to be a darker value than the little square on the right. And that's only because its relationship to what it is immediately next to. This is so cool. Every time I do this, I just think it is the coolest thing ever. Yep, still darker on the left than on the right, that's for sure. Nope, I'm going to try and get it to be more obvious. Still appears to be darker on the left than it does on the right, doesn't it? And this is an exercise that comes from Joseph Alber's Interaction of Color, a very famous color book with lots of color exercises, and you can find it online. Look at that! So much darker on the left than it is on the right. Never ceases to amaze me. But that's just the way our eyes work. Yep, checked it again. Very cool. Look at that. Definitely darker on the left than on the right. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks very much.